In this video, I'm going to walk you through Lesson 6 of Unit B.1 from Open Sci-Ed. Now, this lesson is actually the end of a lesson set, and we are going to answer the question if we can apply what we've figured out about limiting factors and carrying capacity to a new scenario. So this is the first time, if students are new to Open Sci-Ed, that they are going to experience a transfer task. And so a transfer task is an assessment where they take all the science ideas and all the practices they've been engaging in, and they try to apply it in a new scenario. So they transfer it to a new scenario. And this example of a transfer task is all about the African wild dog. So it's still kind of related, but we're not looking at wildebeest. We're going to look at the African wild dogs. Now, this lesson in particular really develops students' ability to walk through a transfer task together. They even have students doing most of the transfer task in groups or with a partner. And then they answer one question by themselves. I'm going to walk you through this in a minute, but just to share with you, only question 8 do they do individually, and they're even provided time to revise it. So you're really, as you go through this, think about what modifications you might make for your students. But I will tell you, the first time students engage in a transfer task, they are pretty overwhelmed. And to be quite honest, this is a very long transfer task. So you might want to shorten it a little bit. Some of the questions are a bit repetitive. So with all of that in mind, let's walk through the lesson. Okay, so we're going to begin preparing for the transfer task. There's a slide to help you. And this is just introducing what a transfer task is. And that is, we're going to apply what we know about limiting factors and carrying capacity to a new situation. We're going to read the introduction to the wild dog transfer task together. And we're going to annotate who, what, where, when, and why as you read. So we're going to read, and this reading is actually in the assessment. And so I would really suggest that you read this. You can have them do it individually and mark up the text, but I would do this as a class as you kind of on-ramp everybody to the transfer task. Maybe even read it together, maybe read sections at a time. Whatever strategies you have for reading as a class, you're going to want to implement them now. And of course, marking up the text. Then there's a video. So this video is on YouTube, and they can see the African wild dogs. It's actually very cute. But they're going to see what an African wild dog looks like with its pups in the wild. And so all of this is an on-ramp to help create an equitable playing field for students. If students have never heard of a wild dog before, or there's any vocabulary that's a little high level for them in the reading, you can really go over it with the entire class together. And then we're going to organize our materials. And I will tell you that they are going to suggest that you use the progress tracker and handouts from lessons 3 through 5. And they're going to be basically open notes as they take this transfer task. And so you want to make sure they can find everything, find your progress tracker, go through everything, and make sure it's available as you complete the transfer task. And then they're going to complete questions 1 through 7 in pairs. You could do small groups if it's easier, but it's suggested to do this in pairs. So I'm going to open up this transfer task and walk through it a little bit with you. Okay, so you will see first there's a picture of an African wild dog. This is all the reading. These are the ranges. So a historical range. This is the current range. And so a lot of different information about wild dogs. So all of this is the reading. Now we're going to start with the beginning of the transfer task. They're going to have to sketch a graph of what they think will happen. It's a prediction to a single pack of wild dogs over 10 years. And so they're going to sketch their graph, and then they're going to use this graph to answer the next question. How does this compare with the graph that you drew? And then we're going to recall carrying capacity. So they're just going to go through all this together. It's basically reviewing everything that they've learned, but just a new scenario. So you can see that question 7, and you're going to have to probably change the formatting a little bit, but you want question 8 to be on a separate page. So here's question 8. You want to make sure this is on its own page because this is what students are going to do individually, and they're going to make a graph. And they're also going to answer some questions. But again, I would reformat this a little bit, however you want. So then you're supposed to come back day 2, depends on how long of a period you have, and then they will complete question 8. And then they're going to peer assess the assessment. They're going to give feedback, and there's a rubric, and the rubric actually has what people should look for on the assessment. So what this does, it kind of breaks it down. This is question 8A. They sketch a graph, and you can see that these are the 3D elements. So they should be color coded. Blue is going to be your science and engineering practice. The yellow is going to be your science ideas, and the green is going to be your cross-cutting concept. And so this would be where, obviously, an organized understanding. If you have a rubric, if you have a 4-point mastery-based or standard-based rubric, this would be your 4. Foundational pieces, that would be your 1 or your 2, and the linked understanding would probably be a 3. It's very hard to do this with percentage-based gradebook. So again, you're going to grade this however you need to, but they're going to revise. So maybe that can be a consideration too, how they make revisions. But this is the peer review rubric. And so they're looking at this as to what should be there. They can circle what they have included. So let's see here. Suggest improvements. Okay, so they give them some sentence starters here, looking for exact facts that they could change here. But I want to say there was a form. Oh, I guess here they can circle the relevant options or write your own. So was this in their answer? Was this in their answer? So they can circle it if it's not, and then they can put some additional information, what they suggest that should have been included. So a lot of sentence frames. Again, you got to probably explain how this rubric works. This is the very high level understanding, 4 points. This would be your 1 or 2 levels. Foundational pieces. And yeah, there's actually one more down here. So this is a lot. And so this is probably the first time students have ever provided feedback on an assessment too. So there is an exit ticket. It's just giving feedback about feedback. It's giving just how they feel about how good of a job they did giving feedback and receiving feedback, because that can be hard too, to receive feedback from peers because it feels like you did something wrong. But again, building that culture that we learn together, that we build off of each other's ideas, those community norms would be very helpful with this, to help us realize that we do all learn together. I think I'm just a little concerned about the length of questions 1 through 7, scaffolding that, and then also how to grade question 8. So really some things you need to think about before you provide this assessment. Okay, the last thing we're going to do is we're going to revisit the driving question board. We're going to go back and we're going to look at what we've now can answer or what we still need to figure out. Now, I will tell you that this is helping you navigate to the next lesson set. And the next lesson set is how do complex ecosystems work. So we're going to look at more than the wildebeest. We're going to look at other types of animals in the ecosystem, and we're going to play a pretty fun and complicated ecosystems game. Okay, good luck with lesson 6, and let's talk about materials next.